Hey again, it's Scott Monker, and time for another game review for Love Letter Premium Edition. So Love Letter Premium Edition is the latest in Alderac's Love Letter line. There are a whole bunch of different versions of Love Letter out there. There's Love Letter Archer, Love Letter Batman, Love Letter The Hobbit, original Love Letter. There's all sorts of them. This one is designed for the people who really like Love Letter. It's a bit of a premium price associated with it. And it's kind of going back to the original rules with some twists. So if you haven't played Love Letter before, Love Letter is the premise behind it is we're all people inside a royal court, and we're all in love with the princess, and we want to get a love letter to the princess. And the game is a card game about making sure that the princess sees our love letter. Now, before we get into the actual gameplay itself, I want to talk about the components and the art, because really, I think that's what distinguishes this game from previous editions, in addition to the 8-player support, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So when you open up the box is a much bigger box and much nice, sturdier box than original Love Letter. It's clearly designed for a much nicer storage solution. It's got cards in it which are very hard cardboard cards, or I'd hardly even call them cards. They're almost playmat thickness. And they have sleeves for them, and the card sizes are tarot card size rather than standard poker playing card size. So you have a beautiful set of components that come with the game. Sleeves that are custom designed for the game. It comes with a rule book, which works well. We'll talk about the rule book in a little bit. So this is definitely, if you've played other variants of Love Letter, a definite upgrade. It also includes tokens that, instead of being little red bricks, are little red heart. And it's funny, Archer Love Letter comes with, Archer's version of Love Letter comes with dolphins. This one comes with very nice large hearts, and you'll notice when you open it, there's one special heart called a yellow heart, which we'll talk about when we get into the gameplay. Now, the artwork for this game is consistent with the artwork in the original Love Letter. You have these 16 original cards with their artwork, and that artwork has not changed. Now, you have 16 more cards that you're adding to the deck, and we'll talk about that when we get into gameplay. And the artwork is consistent with it. Now, if you like that era, kind of the Regency era type of artwork, it's very pretty, it's very nice, and it fulfills its objective, but don't be expecting anything different when it comes to the artwork in this game. So the rulebook for this game is pretty straightforward. It's similar to the original rulebook. The rules are straightforward. It does have a section where it explains the new cards and the differences, because there are some new cards. It also has player references that are similar to what came with the original Love Letter. Now, I only had one complaint here, which is the game is designed for 8 players. It is designed for 3 to 8 players. But when it came to player references, you only got 4. Now, there were 2 cards each because of the 32 cards, but I would have done an additional 4 cards, or additional 8 cards, and additional 8 sleeves, so every person could have a complete set of player references. You could have done the player references double-sided, but with the sleeves that wouldn't have worked very well. So yeah, unfortunately, because we found ourselves handing the player references from one person to the other throughout our first gameplay all the time. Now, once we became more familiar with the cards, it was less necessary, but on that initial playthrough, I really wish I had had an additional set of reference cards. Rulebook, good. Reference cards, they're good, but not enough of them. So let's talk a little bit about the theme. Now, the theme here, as we talked about, is the idea of we're all people inside the royal court trying to get our love letter to the princess. Now, I want to break down the theme into 2 components. One is the characters, and the 2 is this letter concept. I think the characters and their powers are really interesting, and they definitely, you get a feeling for, I'm the Baron, and I'm going to do this to you, and I'm the Bishop, and I'm going to do this, and I'm the Dowager Queen, and I'm going to do this. That section is kind of cool. The whole letter concept just doesn't fly. We really weren't thinking about, oh, I'm trying to deliver a letter to the princess kind of thing. Now, that set aside, I don't think the theme is important for this game to be a blast. I think the take-that components, the interaction, the social play of the cards is really what makes this game interesting. And the theme, while pretty, and the characters, while interesting, the letter delivery doesn't make any difference. So let's talk about playing the game, and then I'm going to talk about the differences between this love letter and the original love letter. Playing this game is very straightforward. Every person is given one card, and it has a roll on it with a number and a special power. You draw a card on your turn, you draw a card, and you discard a card and play the effect of the ability. So discarding is kind of like, actually I refer to it as playing a card rather than discarding. I think discarding is a little bit confusing. The reason why they call it discard is because now your new roll is the card you're holding in your hand. So it's draw one card, play one card, and play its effects, or discard one card and play its effects. You play until either one, everybody else has been eliminated through card play, or two, you played all the cards, everybody's got one card left in their hand, in which case the person with the highest numbered card wins, unless you have the bishop and the princess, in which case the bishop is number 9, but the princess is number 8 wins. So that's the basic mechanics. Now, the differences between the original love letter and this version have to do with the 16 additional cards that are given. So there's 16 additional cards in the deck, bringing you to 32, with 8 additional rolls. These additional rolls have some very interesting powers associated with them. It should also be pointed out that some of the powers in the original rolls have changed slightly. In particular, when you're talking about naming stuff, you name numbers instead of rolls because of this new numbering scheme that's going on. But there are a bunch of new rolls. They range from 0 to 9, 9 being the bishop and 0 is the assassin and the jester. They are very interesting powers with a lot of flexibility in them. So essentially, draw one, play one. Person with the highest card at the end wins unless you eliminate everybody else. 16 new cards and 8 new rolls if you played previous versions of Love Letter. So what did I think about this game? I really like this edition of Love Letter. Now, I was a big fan of the original Love Letter, and I own a couple of variants. I own Archer, and I think I own one other. My personal favorite up until this version was Archer Love Letter, just because I'm a big fan of Archer. But all the variants up until this point have been largely the same game with some minor flips. Nothing hugely significantly changed. It is surprising how adding these additional 16 cards with 8 additional rolls has really changed this game. This is not an easy game anymore. The original Love Letter, the strategies were pretty straightforward. It was a very socially interactive game. When we played this one with the new rolls, it's a much more complicated game. It's much more thinky. The problem solving is a lot more tough, which I really like. So thumbs up to Alderac, AEG, for taking what was a really good game and making it, actually, in my opinion, a whole lot better.